accurate and, well, hopefully compelling. My job is to give you information and hopefully motivate you to just take a one step, 3 steps if you have to, but one step closer to taking claim and control of your health. Because really, it is only a few steps away. You're one step away from reclaiming your health. The reason why you're here is because someone asked you if you cared about your health, if you wanted to improve your health, if you wanted to do something that was natural and something that was responsible to make your health better. And they asked you to hop on this program, take a look, and see what it is that all the talk is about. Well, the talk has been going on for about 10 years. We've been doing this under a different brand, directly working with doctors and clinics and hospitals. These specialists deal in the treatment of metabolic syndrome, and that's where we got our start. And some months ago, we decided that we needed to get the information out to more people. We needed to be able to take it out of just being able to give it to the medical community and give it to people, because the fact is not everybody goes to their doctor. About 25% of the population sees their doctor once a year. And that number has been shrinking for the last several years, and that's not good. Our information is so cutting edge, it is so new, it is so revolutionary that we figured we had to get it out. And so we created the 3Believe name. And we don't sell it through doctor's offices, we sell it through the internet, and we sell it through you. And so, what is metabolic syndrome? Well, it's a term that not a lot of people know, but it's becoming more popular. It's a term, though, that you know better than you think you do. It affects over 80% of Americans. And sadly, the more that the world becomes more westernized, and as the world becomes more successful, or a country will become more financially stable, the sicker they get. Now, that's just this strange to me, but it's the truth. You look at the fastest growing population in the world is in India. The fastest growing population of diabetics is in India, and it's in the cities where the people are making more money, they're becoming more affluent, they're able to buy more foods, and they want so many of these countries to westernize, so they want our fast food, they want our type of foods that we're eating, and they get sick. And that's not good. So one thing, we want to spread democracy around the world, but man, we don't want to spread metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is touching all of you that are watching this program. It is affecting those that are overweight. That's a sign of metabolic syndrome. Those that have high blood pressure, those that have high cholesterol, those that are diabetic or have elevated glucose levels and are pre-diabetic, and those that have fatty liver disease and digestive issues. Those are the symptoms from metabolic syndrome. What in the world happened? Why do we have this issue? We didn't used to be 79% of our population overweight. Today, we look at our children that are in school, and those, when they reach adulthood, about the age of 25, it is projected that 33% of those children will be diabetic. We didn't used to have that issue. Why are we having such an issue? And it's because of one thing. Fortunately, that one thing is also the cure. And that one thing is food. We got into trouble with these metabolic syndrome issues because of food, and what the clinical studies, over 20,000 of these studies have told us, is that food can get us back out. It's just a special balance, not really rocket science, but it is science. a special balance of the macronutrients of those foods. You see, we got into trouble with eating the wrong macro balance of food. Now, what is macro balancing? That is essentially what our answer is, our solution to you overcoming the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. It's really by eating food. It's just the right balance. So, just as a quick reminder into food sciences, is a macro balance is only three things. It is the balance of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. If we have the right combination of those three things, then we can thrive and have a great, healthy life. Those are the issues that we focus on. And so, kind of like when you go through our program, which is really very simple. It's only 4 phases. You start out in phase 1 and you graduate into phase 4. 4 is the lifestyle. Now, I'm not going to tell you that that's a quick, easy fix. You can't take a pill and just solve all of our problems. We have to change our lifestyle a little bit. So it makes sense, doesn't it? If we ate the wrong balance of foods to get us where the level of health that we are at now, and to fix that, we just change the balance of those proteins, fats, and carbs, how much we're eating of each one, right? And that fixes it. Well, it only makes sense for us to maintain our health and not go back to being sick. We have to change our lifestyle. We can't go back to where we were before, or we're going to continue to get what we got that got us sick. But it's not that drastic. You don't really have to change it entirely. It's not as odd and strange as you might think. Okay? So be comforted with that. Phase 1 of our protocol is kind of like breaking your ankle. Now, when you break your ankle and you come into our program, or if you go into an emergency room, what are they going to do? They're going to put a brace or a cast on that ankle, and they're going to say, look, in order for your bone to heal properly, I need you to not do what you did to break the ankle. Let's say that you're trying out for the circus and you are jumping on the trampoline. Oh, you were good. You were doing twists and turns and flips and all kinds of acrobatic work. Well, you just landed wrong and broke your ankle. Now, in order for your ankle, your bone to heal properly, you're going to have to just lay low a little bit. You can't go back jumping on that trampoline. In overcoming metabolic syndrome, one of the primary causes that gets us into trouble is eating too much carbohydrates. Now, I'm not saying that carbohydrates are evil. What I'm saying is we eat too much carbohydrates and we eat too little of the healthy kind of fats. And so what we do is we change that ratio a little bit. We increase the right kind of fats, and those right kind of fats are omega fats, and we decrease the unhealthy fats, try to eliminate them if we can, and we decrease the amount of carbohydrates. That's kind of like putting a cast on your diet, just for a little while, not very long, and long enough for your body to heal itself. The three things that we're focusing on is the pancreas, the liver, and your digestion. The reason why we do that is because that's what the studies told us. We turned to the studies. We really focused in on 600 of them when we developed our program, because we wanted to have an all-natural, healthy solution, right? We didn't want to use medication, and we didn't want to do surgery. And so that was one criteria. We wanted to have healthy, all-natural foods. The next is that we wanted to have it be able to be an adaptable lifestyle change. So we couldn't have something where we had to just always grow our own food. Not that growing food's bad, it's just that it's not likely that we're going to be able to grow all of our own food for the rest of our lives, right? And so we wanted to make it something that was simple and easy. And that's why we came down to this program. We just followed the studies. We just made a gigantic Excel spreadsheet, listed all the things that the studies told us what they found, and the ingredients of those natural foods, right down to the actual micronutrients and the amounts of those macronutrients. And I wish I could say that we just invented this great new science. We didn't. We just took from the 20,000 studies that have been done all around the world over the last 40 years and just read. And then we made a report of it. It was amazing to me that no one's ever done that. No one ever took all the studies and just let the science point them in the direction. You see, we didn't have an agenda. We didn't have a product that we wanted to make up first. In fact, we didn't want to make a product. We wanted to just sell a program, an idea. But, well, we found out that there's very few products out there that follow the requirements of the studies without growing your own food. So it forced us to become a manufacturer. And, well, now we have what we have for you today. And it's very, very effective. It's effective in overcoming type 2 diabetes. It works very well in overcoming digestive disorders and weight issues. The reasons why we gain weight, which is we eat too many carbohydrates. It increases our levels of insulin. Insulin is a fat promoting, not a fat burning hormone. And so we turn off that mechanism for a short period of time, let your body balance it out, burn the fat naturally without any crazy medications or pills, surgery. And lo and behold, what do we have? Well, we have people that no longer have the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. And that's what we're here for. We call that 3Believe. It's pretty miraculous. We're about to embark on a new era. We have been at the cutting edge of science. We teach doctors and hospitals and clinics how to treat metabolic syndrome using this methodology. And as reported back to us from them, they have never, ever found any medication or surgery that works better. So Mother Nature must have, well, she just knew something. Our Creator knew that our relationship with food was going to be a long-term relationship. Pretty much would be doing our whole life. And it would be wise of us to be able to follow the wisdom that our body's telling us. And our body tells us that we should balance out those macronutrients. And so that's why you're here. That's what you're here to learn from. And I'm going to talk about our next phase. When we first started, no one had done some of the things that we've done. And we're still in that situation. There are companies that have not figured out our formula and have been able to duplicate our success. Well, we're proud of that fact, but we wish more people knew about the answers that were here. And we're about to embark on something else. I'm going to make a confession. When we started this program 10 years ago, and we started going through the research, it soon became apparent to me that we would have the best methodology, the best program, and we would then have the best products available to treat metabolic syndrome, right? But here's my confession. I knew it wasn't perfect. I knew that we could do better, but we didn't have the technology at that time. We didn't have enough experience. And so I just kind of took that knowledge and stuck it on a shelf and said, well, we'll just keep our nose to the grindstone. We'll keep up on the research, doing our own research, and we'll just see where that takes us. Well, we've come to this point now where technology has caught up with my vision of taking our program and making it pretty darn close to perfect. I'm going to reserve and say not 100% perfect, because there's few things on earth that are perfect. Maybe a baby's laugh or the smell of a flower, right? But we'll be pretty darn close to perfect. And that is the newest research that's been coming out has been as bold to say this: that every single chronic disease, all of them, come from the same thing. And they can all be resolved, if caught soon enough, okay, by the same thing. And that is by, they're caused by an imbalance in digestive enzymes. And it makes sense. And so in the world of digestive enzymes, if we didn't have a digestive enzyme, let's just take protease as an example. That's a special enzyme that's just for breaking down the proteins that you and I eat. You see, our body can't just take meat and we chew it up and we put it into our stomach. Most of the enzymes happen in our small intestine. I mean, most of the digestion and breaking down of food happens in the small intestine. But we can't even just chew it up with the acid in our stomach and then say to the body, hey, cells, I got some food here for you. I got some vitamins and minerals and all the other good nutrients. Here you go. Have at it. Because in a gross sense, the bits of nutrient, the bites are too big for our cells to be able to take advantage of. They can't absorb it. It won't even get into our bloodstream. It's too big. Can't pass through the wall. All right? And so that's what our enzymes are there for. It breaks it down so that we can absorb what we're eating. Well, why is that an issue? Well, 10 years ago, when we started this, I read a study, and it's what inspired me to make our formula that we have today the most powerful enzyme fortified meal replacement shake in the world. So far, no other company has been able to make one that's as effective. Now, I'm going to turn this off here. You heard that little chime. Let me get rid of that. Okay. No one's been able to get and duplicate a meal replacement formula that is digested as high and effectively as ours is. Now, I wish it was because of my brilliance that I could say that, but that's not the reason. You know why the reason is? Because they won't spend the money in putting the proper and enough digestive enzymes in the blend to give you the ability to absorb those foods that you're eating. Oh, they could do it just like we do it. They just don't want to spend the money to do it. And that's sad. You deserve to have it. The study that I was talking about found that it was huge. It was over 20,000 people done almost over 10 years over the entire United States. And they found that Americans only digest 47% of the foods that they're eating. That means 47% of the vitamins and minerals, the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates and all the other nutrients that we need. Well, you're buying it, you're eating it, but you're getting less than half at your cellular level where your body actually needs it. It doesn't do us a lot of good for us just to eat it, chew it up and put it in our stomach. We have to be able to deliver that nutrient at the cellular level in a form that our cells can actually utilize it. And that's what enzymes do. So, even though we're the most effective and highly digestible meal replacement on the market, I knew that we could do better. But we didn't have the technology. We didn't have the expertise to be able to take it that far. So I put it on the shelf and waited. Well, we've come to the point where we can do that now. And part of the problem with doing this was not as much as just saying, look, I'm just going to give you every single digestive enzyme that there is. And I'm going to give them all to you all at one time. It's not that simple. Your body doesn't really react to it that way, or at least effectively, all right? And so what we need is we need a detection system. It's kind of like when you go in, going back to that broken ankle, how did they determine if an ankle was broken or any bone before they had x-rays? Well, they'd feel it and they'd that moved the joint around, and they could feel or hear that bone snapping against itself while the patient was screaming their head off because it was extremely painful, right? Or they could see if it was a compound fracture. They could see that it was at a joint. But other than that, they didn't know. It was speculation. They had to guess until they had an x-ray that could go through the skin and look at the break of the bone in the body. They didn't know. And then after x-ray, they had MRIs, right? They had better imaging to be able to tell it in 3D levels and in color. Well, a few years ago, when we first started this, we did not have the technology. The industry, medical science, didn't have the ability to conclusively tell what enzymes you had and which ones you didn't have. They didn't have the ability to identify every parasite and foreign invader that you had. The difference between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. We knew it was there, but we didn't have the ability to tell conclusively. The tests were not conclusive. They pointed us in the right direction. And so there's technology out today. And I want you to pay attention to something that you're going to start seeing more and more on the internet. Now, a few years ago, I predicted that the future of nutrition is something called personalized nutrition. And it came true. You're seeing more and more ads talking about personalized nutrition, meaning what Bill over here, the type of foods that Bill needs to become healthy is going to be different than what Susan needs or Robert needs, because we are different at the cellular level. Kind of like our DNA is unique for every person, like our fingerprints are different. And what studies are finding is that our digestive enzymes are different as well. They call it flora, or they'll call it microme, right? Biome. The whole entire system of our digestive flora, right? And in fact, one study that I read is they took identical twins. Now these are two girls that lived. They came from the same parents, obviously, if they're identical twins. They lived in the same home, ate the same foods, they did the same activities. Their lives were essentially the same, but they took digestive enzymes out of each one of these girls and then sent them to the lab, and they tested them under this new technology, this brand new detection system, and they found out that each girl's digestive enzymes were different. They weren't the same. The bacteria that was there were not the same as the other sibling. And that was striking. That was pretty interesting. And so what that's telling us is that what we need to have a more accurate detection system. And so I've associated ourselves with a lab that has the patent on this technology. No other company has it. There are companies that are touting that they can check your DNA and tell you what foods you should eat. Well, DNA is not digestive enzyme. And there are companies that will check your blood, and blood is not digestive enzyme. And they can even have where they'll do tissue or hair samples. Those are not, they're like x-rays compared to an MRI. And so don't be fooled because they're not conclusive. The reason why I say that is they took these same two twin girls I told you about, and they sent their samples of digestive enzymes to the, they did them in 3 and 4 tests. So they took 2 or 3 tests from one girl and 2 or 3 samples from another girl, they're twins, send them to these different technologies, and they found that even though the sample was coming from the same girl, the test results came back from the same lab as different. They were not accurate. And so how is that going to tell you what types of foods and digestive enzymes that you should be eating if the test itself is not accurate? It's like a GPS on your phone that's gone scawampus. And if you've ever had that happen, like I have, It's frustrating because you rely that it's accurate. You don't find out until you arrived at the destination that you're in an entirely different part of town or a different city. So that's where we're headed. I'm very excited about it. We'll be that much further ahead of anyone else in the world, and we'll be able to tell you exactly what enzymes you do not have, and we'll be able to supply them for you, and what foods you should be eating, and if those foods are not available to you because of the season of the year or your location where you're at, or it's so it's a different type like spelt. Not every store is going to sell that. We'll have those things for you. And so that's exciting. And why am I excited? Because every chronic disease is because we do not have the appropriate digestive enzymes, the biome, in your body. Very exciting. I'm thrilled to be able to be part of this newest research. So let's go back to something I wanted to talk about. I had two experiences that happened this week. Two people that called up and had questions. One was a truck driver, and now that's a tough job, isn't it? I love to drive, but I couldn't do it for a job. And if you're a long haul driver and you're away from home, you don't go and sleep in your own bed every night. There's lots of reasons why truckers have a tough life, especially if you're trying to be healthy. Well, they eat when they can. They're eating on the road. It's pretty much a boring job, right? So it's very common that when you're driving, you're doing this. You're putting food in your mouth, snacking on this or that, and drinking various different things. Sometimes not the healthiest drinks because you need to stay awake. Well, they're eating fast food, right, on the most part. And again, not the healthiest foods. And so we had this trucker that started our program, and he started out with phase 4. Now that's 1 shake a day. I advise everyone, and you should too, to tell people to start on phase 1. You can accomplish your goal of being healthy with phase 4 with 1 shake a day, but phase 1 with 3 shakes a day and 1 regular meal, you're just going to get there faster. And why take more time than it needs to, right? But he started on phase 4. Now it was a different diet, obviously, and he started experiencing after a few days, he's not feeling so well. He noticed that he was breaking out a little bit on the skin, and he noticed he was getting some headaches, and he noticed that he had some grumblings in his stomach, and he just didn't feel awesome. He expected that he would. So why didn't he? Well, most of the toxins that we carry, that reside, I should say, not being processed, but that are residing in our body, is housed in and around our fat, our stored fats. So as we go through a fat loss program, those toxins are being released. Now, how does our fat get burned? It doesn't get burned on the spot, meaning if you have fat on your arm, your fat doesn't actually burn right there on your arm. The factory that burns that fat is your liver. And so it has to be transported from that area, again, let's say the arm, and be transported through the blood down to your liver to be broken down and be burned off as energy. Well, that process of going down into your liver, and then the nutrients released back and the toxin from that fat released back into the bloodstream, down to the kidneys, down to your bowels for deliver or elimination. It's re-exposed in your bloodstream, and so it's kind of like having a garbage can with a lid on it, and you've got some stuff in there that you want to get rid of, and it doesn't smell so good. Every time you open it up to take that garbage out to the dumpster outside, it is exposed to your environment, and you smell it again. It's the same when those toxins in your fat and around your fat are reintroduced back to your bloodstream. While it's being eliminated, you're gonna feel a little off, and so it's temporary. See that as a good thing. Now, if it's lasting for weeks on end, well, that's not a good thing. But that's not what happened. And that's not what happens with people that start the protocol. And so he's already started feeling better. The level of how bad you feel and how long, meaning, again, just days, maybe a week at the most, is really the level of toxicity that you have. How naughty and eating inappropriate foods have you been to get you to the place where you're at? That really is a corresponding relationship to how long you'll not be feeling awesome. So if that happens to you, be aware of it. That definitely is what happens when people will go off the protocol after they've been living it for a while. Then they'll go out and, let's say they go on a cruise and they eat, yummy food, especially foods from another country, and they're fine, and they may feel a little off when they first eat it, but then they'll come back around, and then they come home and they start back on the protocol, and for the first few days they feel a cleanse going on. A cleanse basically means I don't feel great. I'm going to feel a little under the weather, but it's just flushing those toxins back out and getting it out of your body. The other issue, the other person explained to me that they now this girl, young woman, I should say, she's very athletic, and so she plays on a club team with other girls, and normally she's at the front of the pack when they're working out. She's able to push hard during the workout, give it her all. She's always finishing in the in the top few girls that are running their exercises. But this one day she noticed that she just didn't have it. She was lightheaded, didn't have their get up and go, and didn't understand why. And so I want you to do, if this happens to you, I want you to do the same exercise that I did with her. I asked her a series of questions. It's just a little bit of investigative work, right? What did you do differently that day before your practice than you hadn't done on the other days when you performed at a peak performance? Well, she couldn't come up with anything off the top of your head. So these are the things you want to start with. What are the things that affects us the fastest? Well, to answer that, I'm going to tell you, things that are in our tissue, that are in our muscles, affects us the slowest. Meaning it has to go through our bloodstream and get into our cells. That's going to take some time. That's why it takes time for us to lose body fat, right? If it was in our bloodstream, I can show you how to get rid of glucose and proteins and fats out of your bloodstream just like that. If you're going in for a triglyceride test, for example, I can show you how to get rid of your triglycerides in less than 24 hours, drop them down to normal, because it's in a fluid. It's not in a mass of tissue or muscle, something solid, right? So reverse engineer it the same way. If I'm feeling different just 24 hours after I was performing excellent, it has to be something in our liquid, in our bloodstream. Well, the first thing you want to go to is water. Was she drinking enough water? She says, this day that it happened was on a Monday that she didn't perform so well. And she said, yeah, you know what? I didn't drink as much water over the weekend as I normally do. All right, that's one. The other issue is, why was she was a little lightheaded? Why didn't she have to get up and go? In fact, she said that she almost threw up at one of the points during the practice because she kept on trying to push herself, but she got a little nauseated. And so I asked her about her hydrate capsules, the sodium. Well, dizziness, one of the primary things that happens when you are dizzy is because you don't have enough sodium in your blood. You have enough water often, but your sodium levels are too low. In fact, remember this. If you're drinking a lot of water, extra water, you got to remember what that's doing to your sodium levels in your bloodstream is diluting the amount of sodium that you're having, and that's not good. Your body has to have an adequate amount of sodium, for your brain to work properly, for your muscles to work properly, for everything to work properly. It is the number one mineral in those situations, right? Not that the others aren't important, but sodium is absolute. That's why if you get in an accident and go into the hospital, what's the number one thing they do? They don't even ask you if you have high blood pressure. They'll ask you if, they'll just give you sodium in your drip and stick it in your arm. It's that vital of an important mineral. So when you're drinking extra water, you need to take extra sodium so that your sodium levels don't drop too low. That will keep you from getting dizzy. Now, for example, you get enough magnesium. Let me tell you about your formula that you're getting in the shakes. You're getting enough magnesium. You're getting enough calcium, potassium. I don't put any sodium in the shake. You got to take that extra or it would taste salty. But those three other water retentive minerals are there. That's what keeps you hydrated. That's basically your electrolyte, okay? And normally you'll be fine with what I put in the shake. But if you're working out extra hard, sweating at the gym, and it's hot outside, or it's a hot, warm weather, it is possible that you'll have to take extra electrolytes besides just the sodium. Now, don't turn to Gatorade. Don't turn to those across the counter because they're loading you up with glucose. Well, that's not giving us any solution to our metabolic syndrome issue, right? We have too much sugar in our diet anyway, so stay away from that. Just make your own. Just go to the store, go to a health food store, get some magnesium, calcium, potassium, and then you got the sodium capsules that you get from us. That combination will take care of any electrolyte deficiency. For example, when I've told you I was doing some experimentation with intermittent fasting, and I had fasted for 5 days, and then I fasted I ate for 2 days, and I fasted for 9 days in my experiment. Now, it was just a water fast, but what I added to that was extra calcium, potassium, magnesium, and sodium. I took more than I ever have in my life, but I've never fasted that long in my life before. I was amazed at how fast I was going through it. Now, it's January here, cold in my climate, and so it's not the extra hot weather that's leaching out those minerals. It's the fact that my liver is just in ketosis. It's burning high levels of fat, and you need those trace minerals or those water retentive minerals to leach out when you're burning fat lipids, body fat. And so just make your own remedy if you're dizzy, if you're lightheaded, if you're feeling low on energy. The first thing you want to look at, if it's not something that happened over progressive days, then you want to look at what's in your blood, and that will be your electrolytes. Okay, start out with the the sodium, and you just start out with 1. Now, some of you have noticed that when you take the sodium or hydrate pill on an empty stomach, you can get a little nauseated, so take it with some food. However, if you end up taking it with calcium, magnesium, potassium, those three will act as a buffer to the sodium. You can take those on an empty stomach with just water, and you'll notice that it will not make your stomach upset at all. Little tidbit, interesting information, and a little bit of science about why our program works so well. And that's about all that I had planned for you tonight. Some of you, I will tell you, you'll be getting some emails and some letters because it's New Year. It's a new year. We're inviting some that the year got away from them, and they perhaps are not on the program as much. So we're sending them out a letter, welcoming them back, inviting them back with some special offers, and so those of you that invited some people to join 3Believe, you'll be getting a letter as well and an email telling you that we have reached out to your friends and encourage them to come back in with some special offers. So that's what that is. Watch for that in your email. If you don't get one, then call us up. Make sure that we have your current email, or email us at supportbelieve.com. And I'm sorry, support3believe.com, and tell us what your current email is about. Probably a good idea if you double check your address, make sure that we have the right one on file, because we're sending out some letters, and that should be able to cover the group of you. But I really do. I care about you starting off this new year in a healthy fashion. Don't wait till spring to get healthy. Don't wait to tell your friends to start when the weather's warm to get healthy. Do it now. Most people, over 95% of the people have already broken their New Year's resolution on the 15th of January. And that was 3 days ago. And so this is a good time to turn that resolution that they broke into a lifestyle that they can maintain for the rest of their lives. So let me turn it back on to see if there's any questions anyone has off that information I provided, or any other questions. And Merv, can you hear me? Merv may have gone back into the hospital with his wife. I know he was calling from the hospital. But is there anyone else out there that has any questions that I might be able to answer?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Can I send a Spanish video for you guys so you can use it for the trying thing?
Yes. So send any of your testimony videos or your story videos that we've been telling you about. Send those to us. You can send those in a link to the support at 3believe.com. And we'll be giving you more detailed information about how we'll be using those when we tell you the other webinar that we'll be doing for the Freedom Training. But yes, send them to that support at 3believe.com.
Okay, I'll be sending it tomorrow then.
Good. Yes, send them now. It's not too late. Hurry and get it in, because those classes are starting very, very soon.
I sent the one in English, but I kind of didn't like it. I didn't have enough time to do it right. But this one I'm going to do it in Spanish, and
absolutely.
I hope you can translate it in English.
Do it in Spanish. We have people here that speak Spanish, and so we'll still be able to work with that. And plus, you need there's a whole country and millions of Americans that speak Spanish here that they need to be able to overcome metabolic syndrome as well. So absolutely. Any other questions that I can answer?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. When you were talking about the calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium, can you give us the strength of each one and the amount take and or percentage? Because I've heard some people that the difference in magnesium from one person to another can vary tremendous, and it's not always the calcium 2 to magnesium 1. Sometimes it can be 7 times more calcium, and so forth and so on. Can you give us some feedback on that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. So the question is, just to have me summarize, is we know that we're supposed to take vitamins and minerals. In this case, the electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. But how much are we supposed to take? And I even referenced earlier that we're all a little bit different at our cellular level. So it can vary. As an example, I suffered as a child and didn't understand, of course, the importance of magnesium. But I suffered with constipation literally my whole life. And I just toughed it out as a kid. We didn't have any other solutions, right? And to stay regular, even to this day, and I have a large amounts of water. You've seen me. I'm always drinking when we're doing our webinars. Right now, I drink about 2.5 gallons a day in my special fasting. But I take about almost 3 grams of magnesium a day to stay regular. Now I'm very, very sensitive to constipation. My wife, on the other hand, she can take 400 milligram. So that's what? That's more than 4 times less than me, and she's fine. And she doesn't take it every day. She just takes it when she needs to. I have to take mine every day or I'm in trouble. So you're right. It is different. The answer to your question is not going to be as simple as I want it to be. Meaning I can't give you a number because it is so unique. You need to test it out for yourself. So start out, this is the advice I tell people. Start out with 400 milligrams of magnesium a day until you become regular, and then monitor it from there. All right. Now, be careful when you're using the minerals that I just explained, because they can counteract each other a little bit depending on what you're taking it for. If you're taking magnesium and calcium, for example, for headaches or for dizziness or light headedness or a drop in energy, then you can generally take those at a 2-to-1, meaning twice as much calcium to magnesium. Unless you're someone like me. If I do that, I'm going to put myself in trouble, and then not only I'll have my headache taken care of or my dizziness, but I'll become constipated. Because calcium will firm a stool where magnesium will loosen the stool, right? That's why I tell people, when you go to the store, don't buy a calcium magnesium blend. They're going to try and sell you one together because they're going to tell you the magnesium is absorbed better when you have calcium along with it, which is true. But if you're doing it for constipation, that's not why you're taking it, so you don't care. I'm giving you calcium and magnesium in your shake. So it's going to be the uptake's going to be highly effective. So you have to kind of look at what you're taking it for. Are you taking it for regularity, constipation, or diarrhea? Or are you taking it for as an electrolyte? So start out with 400 milligrams of magnesium a day, and I recommend you take it when you get home from work. That way it has a few hours to work in your system before you go to bed, all night to work on you, and then you'll find out in the morning how your body's going to respond to that dose. If you find out you need more, then you can take another one, but you're going to work, and then you have a restroom there that you can satisfy your need if needs be. Okay? Don't try this when you're traveling. Don't start experimenting with magnesium when you're traveling on the road. Do it when you're at home or you're going to be at work. Okay? Calcium. If you're taking calcium for the benefit of an electrolyte, then start out with 300 to 400 milligram dose. If you're doing it for constipation, I recommend that you start out with a minimum of 500 milligrams. Okay. Now you don't have to be exact. If your dose is, say, you got 200 milligram capsules and you can't split that up, so we'll go ahead and take 600 or take 400. But what you're doing is you're finding out how your body's responding to it. Okay. So when I take it for an electrolyte, I'll take 2 400 milligram magnesiums. I'll take 1 400 milligram calcium. I'll take 400 milligrams of potassium, and I'll take 1 of the our hydrate in the morning, and I'll take another one at night. That's what I take for my electrolyte, and then you regulate it from there. For electrolyte, it's not going to be for dizziness, for energy. It's not going to be as necessary to dial those in exactly. you're going to want to pay more attention to the calcium and magnesium in the case of diarrhea or constipation, because that will be particular to you. But for just as a quick reminder, start out with 400 milligrams of magnesium for regularity, for constipation, and then increase it as needed. And then start out with 500 milligrams of calcium if you have diarrhea, to firm it up. Okay? So hopefully that's helpful. Oh, also, don't go to the grocery store to buy these. Go to a health food store and get them that way. If you can get them and afford them in whole food, natural food source, that's always better. That's what I'm giving you in the shake. But they can be expensive when you buy them in capsule form. Any other questions?
I do have another question about the magnesium.
Okay.
I have taken 3 different kinds: magnesium malate, magnesium citrate, basic magnesium glycinate, and I know there are other forms of magnesium. Some work better than others. Do you have suggestions?
Yes. The reason why there's different forms is well, there's different qualities of all minerals, right? And but not only quality, there are different forms for different activity. If you're taking it for both an electrolyte and for regularity, I suggest that you take magnesium citrate or a sorbate. Those are better. Malate, you got to take a lot. I mean a lot. You probably have to take anywhere from 6 to 10 times more than you would with a sorbate or citrate. So I'd use that form. Any other questions?
What if you have a young child that is constipated, like 4 or 5 years old?
Well, fortunately for magnesium, it's at least in a sorbate or a citrate, it's taste free. So that most children aren't good with swallowing capsules. By the way, don't take them in tablet form. Take them in a capsule, and they're not going to likely want to take that. So just buy the capsule and pour it in their food, or put it in some, a drink and stir it up and serve it to them that way. The amount kind of depends on their weight. So if they're 4 to 5 years old, they're going to be in the range of 25 to 35 pounds, in that range, or 40 pounds, and so you want to start out with about 100 milligrams, which are hard. That's hard to get in magnesium, that small. So just get one and get a 200 milligram. Those are readily available, and just take half of it and put that in, and that will serve the purpose. Unless you're like me, at 5, I don't know what I'd have to take, but I'm sure I'd have to take a couple of them. Any other questions? Well, good. Hopefully it was informative tonight, and you enjoyed it. I appreciate your time, and God bless you all. Pass the word around of good health, and let other people be aware of the information and some of the secrets of health that you've discovered. So I wish you all the greatest. I should tell you that we will be traveling, doing some training next week, and we won't be able to do our weekly call. I won't be there, but I think Merv might do it. He'll send out an email and let you know. But my only excuse is at least you'll know that I'm increasing my knowledge so that I can pass it on to you. It won't be a vacation. So good night. Thank you all. And
Excellent show.
Okay. Take care.
Good night.
God bless. Thank you, Jason.
thank you.
Good night, everybody.